the perceived talent shortage has been created because we are trying to hire folks that can do everything with a lot of experience, because we just want to hit the ground running, right? We want to hire somebody. We want to make sure that we're going 1,000 miles an hour, right? We don't want to take the time to educate new talent. We don't want to take the time to mentor the younger generations to do what we're doing today, right? That's why there is a perceived talent shortage.
Welcome to CyberSecurity Heroes, an IRONSCALES podcast about you, the heroes of cybersecurity. You're about to hear and learn practical and experiential knowledge in our conversations with security leaders and practitioners and other influential InfoSec stars, so we can become more cyber resilient and safer together. CyberSecurity Heroes is brought to you by IRONSCALES, the most powerfully simple email security platform. And I'm your host, Brendan Rudd. And now, let's get into the show. Hey, Humberto. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure. And before we begin, would you mind kind of sharing your background and what you're working on these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is I grew up, and I say grew up professionally, as a radio communicator back when things were analog. And then transitioned when technology started exploding from analog to digital, which then translated to networking over radios. And keeping that framework and having been a security practitioner since 1995, I transitioned into information assurance, which now is known as cybersecurity. So that's where I came from. My experience started in cybersecurity at around 2002, and then started as a low-level policy person and implementer, and then now I am currently a CISO for Impact Networking out of Chicago, Atlanta area.
Touching on what you just said, do you believe that the career path to becoming CISO or CISO has changed? Do you still need to have an MBA in business to be considered for a CISO role?
So CISOs are a different breed. An MBA helps because the role of the CISO has evolved from being a technical role to being more of a advisor to the business and how to implement security controls and remain relevant within the space. Those that are focused on just the technical side will miss out on the opportunities to be able to communicate what the return on investment is, not just from a cybersecurity perspective, but from a business perspective overall, by reducing risk and then measuring risk and then translating that into business dollars, right? So an MBA specifically is very helpful, but understanding business, understanding financial requirements, understanding compliance regulations, absolutely, and knowing and understand. Part of the things that I'm constantly asked is, what do you bring to the table? Is the ability to understand business models and be able to translate those into cybersecurity requirements to keep the business protected, right? So as long as you can do that and you can prove that you could do that, then no, I don't think an MBA is required, but it definitely helps. It helps the individual provide proof that they know how to do those things.
Would you be able to simplify maybe the career path for someone wanting to become a CISO who perhaps doesn't have that educational background in business, but has that enterprise or business understanding and experience?
Oh, wow. Well, the path is a many. First off, I would definitely start following Gary Heislip. He's provided some excellent work, is active in the community, and provides a lot of information for current and future CISOs, right? And for those that don't know, Chief Information Security Officer would be the translation of CISO. Uh, I would start there and start reading a lot of the things that need to be able, that you should be able to do if you want to become a CISO. Get experience looking at or putting hands on keyboards in order to evaluate configurations, right? If you're able to read configurations and interpret them, I think you're in a good spot. Being able to analyze patterns and do some data science and analytics is another one, right? Because there's a lot of data out there that we have to parse through and make our own conclusions and create roadmaps and strategies on how to protect the business or the organizations that we are asked to protect, right? And from there, absolutely continuous education, right? If you aren't familiar with the financial side of the business, if you're not familiar with different business models, and looking at what the profit should be and how to measure profit, and then how to measure net gains versus gross gains, then get into that and understand it, right? You're going to have within an organization, you're going to have your CEOs, potentially CFOs, your chief financial officers, that are going to be the experts, but you need to be able to speak their language and be able to translate technical requirements into business requirements.
And you mentioned that you're a vCISO, so for me, it's a fairly new term. I never heard it, I think, until this year, and I'm not sure if our audience is familiar with it. So would you mind spending a couple minutes breaking down what is a vCISO, and that obviously there are major differences between vCISO and CISO?
Correct. So a chief information security officer would be a one-to-one relationship, right? You have one organization, have one chief information security officer, who then is directly involved with the organization. They're in all of the meetings, they're in all of the decisions, and it really depends on the structure on who they report to as to how much influence they have, right? Different organizations put them in different places, which is still a conversation for later, but really it turns out that having a CISO on staff will help the organization mature quicker. A virtual chief information security officer is really targeted to the small and medium business space, and maybe even the small enterprise, right? CISOs can be expensive. When you look at the SMB space or the small enterprise space, the budget really isn't there to hire somebody with the experience and the salary required of a CISO, so they outsource that. So I'm basically a fractional employee or a fractional consultant to the organizations who are our clients. So still providing that strategic view, still providing threat intelligence and translations of technical requirements into business requirements. We're still doing all of that, but instead of having a one-to-one relationship, we have a one-to-many relationship.
Could you explain how your role integrates into your company, Impact Networking? How are you providing vCISO services within your current company?
Absolutely. So Impact Networking started out as a multifunction printer service provider. And as the requirements and the needs grew, they went into outsource IT, marketing. We have our own marketing department that services our client organizations. Outsourced IT, again, to our client organizations. And then the next step in that was to provide cybersecurity services that go along with the outsourced IT services. Two different organizations and divisions within our corporate organization, but with the same goal, right? Our IT focuses on providing IT services with the security focus in mind. The cybersecurity arm of that is more of your security operations center, your security analysts, your compliance officers, your penetration testers, and then the virtual chief information security officers. So all of those are tied in. As we sell the cybersecurity services, you receive a package deal, right? It's flat fee for what you get, and that flat fee includes the vCISO services. Most organizations do time and materials. For us, it's you need us, you call us, we'll take care of you, we'll have the meetings, we'll develop the strategy for you, and we'll keep a pulse on you. So that's how it's integrated, right? We're keeping a pulse on what the Security Operations Center is doing for our organizations. We're in constant communication with the compliance officers, which is a separate service, but still taking a look at where they're going or where they need to go or where they're at to be able to provide that strategy to meet compliance requirements. And basically getting to know the business. Again, that's part of the success, is knowing the business and their business model and their culture. And then moving from there to develop small changes or big changes to get the client organization to where they want to be, right?
So would you say that this vCISO value add is part of how you differentiate as an MSSP? Is it common to have this as an offering as an MSSP?
It is common as an additional service. And it is part of the differentiator between Impact Networking cybersecurity services and the rest of the managed security service providers that are out there. Everybody wants to say that they have differentiators, right? We're all doing the same thing. It's how we do it. Integrating the virtual chief information security officer services from a senior level perspective is something that is rarely done, because we have experience, and it typically reduces the overall profit for companies that do that. But from when you look at the ability to provide services to a client that is already struggling to create a cybersecurity budget, we are including it in there because we realize how important it is to have somebody with the cybersecurity experience in developing programs and conducting assessments, analyzing trends from a threat intelligence perspective, and really being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, I've spoken with a few guests about the ability of MSSPs to aggregate that crowdsourced intelligence from all your customers in order to become more proactive, as you said. Is there anything else that you can add that helps you become more proactive?
So I belong to several groups that provide threat intelligence, and also reading what everybody else is talking about, what folks are analyzing. When the news first broke about the Kaseya VSA breach, we identified the clients who may have used those, ensured that they turned that service off immediately, ensured that their backups were viable, because that's part of our information technology service is backup data and recovery, right? So our clients already have that, and it's continuously operational and tested to ensure that we can recover clients. We sent the notifications out to turn those off, and then we also did some analysis internally to ensure that any of the vulnerabilities that were being published as part of the Kaseya breach were not also transferable into the products that we use here at Impact. So that's how we stay proactive, right? We're always keeping a pulse on things, multiple threads, multiple sources, to ensure that we don't get caught by surprise. Same thing with the print nightmare, right? We saw that the exploit code was published by accident, but then started identifying, okay, how do we mitigate that? Being a printer company, obviously it's very important to us to have the capability to provide the capability to our client organizations and internally to be able to print. So we went through and identified how to identify and mitigate that risk by turning it off where it's not necessary, ensuring that everything was patched, and then also to ensure that the services were not being able to be accessed from the external of the network, right? So you want to maintain that perimeter, a strong perimeter, to ensure that threat actors aren't able to compromise a machine and then pivot in using that vulnerability exploit.
And last time we spoke, you mentioned something that was interesting, and I wanted to dive into it a bit more. I asked you what's a common held belief in info security that you passionately disagree with, and you told me that it's IT and cyber teams can't work well together. So I'd love to hear how you've overcome that or changed teams around in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, it was funny. I just had this conversation again today. The differences between it's not necessarily still happening, but somebody had asked me a question similar to that, like the difference between information technology and cybersecurity. Information technology obviously is more about the user experience and availability of services provided to them. On the flip side, cybersecurity is to secure those services. So sometimes the user experience is less important than to maintain integrity and confidentiality of those services and the data that you're protecting, right? So there may be some pain that is given to the end user or to the organization in order to secure things. So when you have, and this goes back to what I said about where the Chief Information Security Officer is within an organization. If you have a Chief Information Security Officer that is working alongside information technology, then the relationships tend to be better. If you have a Chief Information Security Officer that is outside of the information technology organization, typically you are competing for the limited resources, right? Or you don't understand what the true mission is of the IT department because you are siloed. So you've got to, number one, remove the silos. If you remove the silos and everybody is working towards the same goal, then it is a lot easier for those two different organizations within your company to get to the same goal. So if mission, I'm a true believer in mission statements. Define what it is you do, how you're going to do it, and then how are you going to measure success. And if the Chief Information Security Officer and the Director of Information Technology or the CIO all are working under, we are going to provide resources and technology to our end users to enable them to, and then whatever those tasks are, right, in a secure manner, right? Then again, that key word, in a secure manner, that automatically starts throwing security into the foundation of what you're doing. how you are going to do that. You're going to work with the security team and the information technology team and the end users to develop processes that are able to be met and to reduce the risk in the organization. And how are you going to measure that? Well, you could use the 5 nines. You can use NPS scores to make sure that your end users are satisfied with the services that are being provided. How easy things are used, how quickly you recover or patch or provide new services. Right there's a gamut of things that you can measure to define success. So as long as everybody is working under those same guidelines, that same mission statement, that's how you get folks to work together. And so that we do that here at Impact. I speak daily with the IT director. We talk about tasks that he has been told to do. I talked to him about the things that I've got going on, and we work together to accomplish those goals. Right, his team is constantly working to secure the environment and providing those services to the end users to ensure that they can do their job and do it effectively.
And in your opinion, how much does the divide that can exist between IT and cyber departments or InfoSec and cybersecurity departments impact breaches? And do you have examples of where that may have happened?
Without putting names out there, yes. So I've worked with organizations who have had information technology department and a security department, and there was an incident that required the use of network diagrams to be able to trace the data flows and to ensure that all of the devices were being investigated. Because the information technology department didn't want to give the keys to the castle, they held that pretty close, and it took twice as long to do the investigation than being able to quickly identify or remediate that incident, right? So information sharing across the teams is what caused the delay, really, and really identifying what the root cause was and the remediation plan. So had the IT department and the cybersecurity department had a better relationship and were accustomed to sharing that type of information and being able to request information from each other, right? We need the topology, we need the architecture of the network, and here's why. And we want to be able to implement network detection in these different locations to be able to proactively identify bad things that are happening, and also to conduct investigations should something bad happen. Was not had, then it was an issue.
And I remember when we were discussing this the last time, you mentioned how important soft skills are, when bringing teams together.
Absolutely. Building relationships and being able to communicate, being empathetic to what the needs and causes are on both sides, right? If you stereotype the typical IT person, they are mostly introverts. And the same with the cybersecurity personnel. They're mostly behind a screen. They're just dealing with the data on their screens. As you move up within the organization or in your career as a whole, you need to have a level of soft skills to be able to communicate, to listen to what the needs and requirements are, and to have conversations and not be confrontational. The NSA provided a talk here in ThoughtCon here in Chicago a couple of years ago that spoke about their analysts being so focused on their screens that they didn't have the soft skills to communicate when they had to present to different organizations or individuals. They didn't have coping skills, right? When they had to do those things, they would get burnt out because of the lack of coping skills and the stress of having to communicate outside of their immediate circle. So get out and become members of social groups that force you to get away from the screen and have interaction to learn how to communicate, public speaking, Toastmasters. I haven't seen an organization out here, that organization out here in the Chicago area, but definitely seek out the Toastmasters. It's not just toasting and drinking, it's actually public speaking and how to interact with folks.
CyberSecurity Heroes is brought to you by IRONSCALES, an AI-powered, self-learning email security platform that helps security professionals proactively prevent, detect, and remediate phishing attacks in a matter of seconds, not hours or days. And we have an exclusive offer for our podcast listeners. Discover dormant phishing threats in your organization's mailboxes. Get a free 90-day scan back with a detailed report. Integrate in seconds with 2 clicks via API to Microsoft Office 365 and see what your current email security is missing. Go to ironscales.com/free scan to learn more.
And in terms of the perceived talent shortage, do you have any solutions, practical solutions? Perhaps you can share your experience in how you do things with hiring and filling in those seats.
Absolutely. The perceived, and I say this way for a reason, the perceived talent the perceived talent shortage has been created because we are trying to hire folks that can do everything with a lot of experience, because we just want to hit the ground running, right? We want to hire somebody. We want to make sure that we're going 1,000 miles an hour, right? We don't want to take the time to educate new talent. We don't want to take the time to mentor the younger generations to do what we're doing today, right? That's why there is a perceived talent shortage. The younger generations they're hungry. They want to come in and do great things. The problem is that we're not giving them a chance. So what we've done here at Impact, we are hiring young talent. Obviously, they're hiring old talent as well, as you can see if you're looking at the screen. But mainly it's younger talents coming in. If they have a drive, if they have an education or just the experience of being a hobbyist and doing the things that we require them to know, then we'll hire them. Right? We'll hire them, and we'll make sure that they go through an education path. They get the experience needed, and hopefully they stay with us because we treat them well, right? We help them grow. We mentor them and get them to a point where, okay, you have a decision. You want to stay here, you want to grow internally, and if not, that's fine. We'll just bring more new people in, right? And we'll start the whole process over again. We have removed, if you look at our new job descriptions, we have removed the requirement for a college degree. All right. We have removed the requirement.
Hand claps in the background here.
Yes, absolutely. For junior level positions, for the associate level positions, we have removed the requirement for experience. Right. What we have done is the NICE framework. I took that coming from the government. I took that and translated that into different levels. So if you have an understanding of certain things, we'll hire you as an associate. right? Let you get that experience. Let your knowledge of those topics grow from understanding to a larger knowledge base, right? So not only can you understand it, but you demonstrate your ability to do and to teach or to analyze, right? You go from a ground zero to a ground to level 3 from a knowledge from 0 to 10 from a knowledge base. When you get to 3, along with your skills and your abilities, then you can start moving into your core levels. So those core levels now have an advanced understanding of those topics, and then an expanded level of knowledge topics, right? And then when you get to the senior position, you are an expert, right? There is no, I don't need to go to Google to know these things. I know them. I can see them, and that's how we're measuring and hiring. We're using the knowledge, skills, and abilities framework that the government has developed. So we took that, put it into civilian terms, into the service terms, and that's what we're using to evaluate folks. So if you have a basic understanding of key topics, come on in. We'll help educate you and get you going. But you're going to work hard, obviously.
So I guess it's no coincidence that your company, Impact Network, has won the CRN Triple Crown winner and Chicago Tribune top places to work.
Absolutely. And shocker, if you come to the Chicago area, Google is in the Chicago area. Motorola is in the Chicago area. Dell is in the Chicago area. So we're competing against some pretty big names, right? So absolutely, it's something that if you have the appetite to learn and to work hard, you're going to be in a good place.
And I would go on to say that it also mentions that your company has an employee retention rate of almost 100% in senior level positions.
That is correct. I've not been here for very long, but the folks that have, there are a lot of folks that have been here for 5 years or more, and those are from manager to vice president levels.
So is it that hard to do what you guys are doing? Because many are not doing it. And the only people that I've heard doing similar type programs are these big corporations like Bank of America. But what is the secret to this playbook? Is it really that hard? And what can you share for companies wanting to try?
There's a compromise, right? You've got to be willing to give people a chance. If you have a solid interview process, you have a solid evaluation process, and you are able to have the talent pool to grow people into what you need them to be, it's not hard. Like I said earlier, the hard part is not wanting to hire a unicorn or a rock star, right? Make them a rock star. That's our job. That's those of us that have this color. Our job is to create the next generation, right? Of leaders, of folks that are going out and finding those vulnerabilities, finding better ways of doing things. I'm more than happy to listen to someone that has new ideas, try them out, and if they work, great. If they save time and money, even better, right? I am by far the person to tell somebody how to peel a potato. As long as the potato is peeled, it doesn't matter, right?
And like, what does this system look like? Do you have a onboarding sort of boot camp internally? Does someone get mentored with a buddy for a certain period of time? Like, I'm just curious about the execution.
So you're telling me to give you my secret sauce, and that's okay. So no, I want to retain the talent, but I also want to ensure that the perceived talent shortage goes away and that folks get a chance, right? So what we do is we do an onboarding process, right? We take care of the folks that come in. When they're completed with the corporate onboarding process, then we do a divisional onboarding process. Based on what you're hired for, you will start to do your training. You'll learn the platforms that we use. You'll learn the processes that we use, and we'll check up on you to make sure that you're making progress. You do have a team lead that will assist in answering any questions that you may have. And then the leaders of the division are doing the mentoring, right? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Do you have any recommendations or questions or comments? And we continue that relationship to ensure that everyone is heard, that the great ideas are listened to and implemented, and those that aren't as great. All right, so the onboarding process, once you complete the corporate onboarding, you do divisional onboarding. So you start to learn the platforms that we have internally. You learn our internal processes, and then we start asking you where are you, what questions do you have, and the team leads kind of help manage that process. From a mentorship process, the divisional leadership take that on to figure out where the individual wants to go as far as their career path, what they're looking for. Are they happy? Do they have any other recommendations or opinions? And then based on those opinions or recommendations or ideas, if it's a great idea, then we look at how to implement it. If it's not a great idea, then we talk through it, right? Because we want to make sure that folks feel like they're being listened to. Look at when you're mentoring someone, you've got to determine, okay, what is it you're really trying to get at, and then kind of step through that and let them continue to work the solution until it becomes a solution that can be implemented, right? You just don't say, oh, that's not going to work, and then send them away, right? Listen to them, coach them on how to get to a better state, and that's one of the reasons why they're here.
And would you make that direct correlation between your company's retention rate? Would you say that is one of the main reasons, or is there anything else?
Work hard, play hard. We absolutely play hard. Monthly, we get surprises. We have, in fact, this coming week, we have a all hands company meeting downtown Chicago, where as you enter the door, you get prizes, you get recognition, you get the executive leadership and key personnel talking to everybody and letting them know what's happening. So there's transparency from that perspective. And then if you work hard, you get recognized, right? I call it spam, but it's not spam. The president of the organization may come after me, but we recognize those who do a great job for our clients, and I get more of those emails from internal resources than I do from security vendors, which is saying a lot because security vendors are constantly emailing me, right? But I get more emails internally singing accolades of our people doing a great job for our client organizations and internally then I do other emails. So that's great, right? People are happy, people are being recognized, and it just keeps the morale up, and that's the key, right?
And I guess that trickles down into your brand and your customers. I mean, they must feel that.
They are. I mean, that's why we're here, right? We're here to ensure that the customer is secure and that we're meeting their expectations, right? So we got to set those expectations up front, make sure that everybody agrees to what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it, and continuously measuring that. So if there is a shortcoming, okay, what's the shortcoming? And this is how I plan to fix it, and this is what we're looking at. Does that meet your expectation? Yes or no? If it's a no, that just like mentoring, right? Okay, then how do I get to where you want me to be? And we work in that. Sometimes and sometimes that's not possible, right? We are a business. We're not going to spend $1 million on a $2,000 contract to make them happy. What we will do is make the effort to make them happy regardless, but ensuring that we're not overextending ourselves, right? If it's something that we have to reset the expectation, then we'll talk through that. If it's developing a new process that's not only going to benefit that single employee, but is going to benefit all of the, excuse me, I misspoke. If it's a benefit that's going to be addressed for all of our clients instead of that one, then we're going to go ahead and implement that because it's going to improve the services for all of the clients, not just that singular one. So maybe that at that point, that's another compromise, right? A client says that this needs to be better, and we see that and we recognize it, and it's going to improve the services for everybody else, then absolutely that's something we're going to do, right?
And what is like a recent achievement you and your team are really proud of?
I can't talk about that right now.
A less recent achievement.
Less recent.
You mentioned previously, like you had some successes with team building, bringing people together, finding common goals.
And the reason why I say I can't really talk about it is because it's still happening, right? So the outcome of that is yet to be determined, but I think we're in a good spot. We are taking inexperienced, and I say inexperienced because that's how they started here, was without experience, and growing them into being able to identify new threats. We're able to work with third parties in doing incident response, right? Incident response is not easy. Forensics is not easy. But we are able to work alongside and provide information to those folks that have been doing it for years, and doing it with them in a way that there are no complaints. Everything is running smoothly. The client is happy. They're recovering quickly. So I think that from a accolade or an achievement, I think for a company that has been in the cybersecurity space for 2 years is tremendous, right? But one of the goals is, I mean, once we grow our stable, not that I'm calling them horses, but once we grow our stable, I think we're going to take a look at and see how we compete against the other organizations and other competitions, and kind of and hone our skills and improve the team and our process internally to help our clients.
So speaking of competing and growing the business, what's something everyone's trying to do that you and your team have discovered a better way of doing?
Oh, goodness. I don't know that we have yet. I don't know that we have yet. I know that when the cybersecurity division was created, there was a lot of work on the front end to put the puzzle pieces together to provide what we do as a service today. But as far as doing it differently or better, besides how we mold and grow our talent, I don't think that we've done anything just yet. We do have plans, but again, got to be careful with those.
Well, just the fact that you're removing college degrees, I mean, that's a huge differentiator, at least from a talent perspective, and giving back to the community. I'm sure you're going to be bombed with DMs after this episode, knocking on your doors.
Well, I will say this: we just opened up our penetration tester locations to any of our impact networking office locations. We have locations in California, we have locations in Texas, we have locations in Wisconsin and Indiana. I got to check to see if we have some in Michigan, but I'm not quite sure. But definitely those, and we're continuing to grow. Right, as a business, as an organization, we are looking to grow in other states as well. But those are the states as of now. So those of you that are penetration testers, absolutely, you go take a look to see if we match. If we do, swipe right. Let's talk.
And before we round up today's episode, what are the biggest advantages, in your opinion, working with an MSSP, and where do you see the MSSP market going?
So to the peers that I know that are out there that are also part of MSSPs, if you agree, great. If you disagree, please tell me, because I'd love to have that conversation. And a lot of smarter people out there than I am may disagree, and that's okay. Where I see the MSSP market going, based on the number of organizations that are out there that currently do not have security, or that need to improve their security based on the requirements that are being developed because of the most recent ransomware attacks, the zero-day exploits, the breaches that have continuously happened for decades in small organizations as well as government organizations. The growth of cybersecurity is going to continue. I think if the MSSPs are able to focus more on providing valued service instead of a profitable service, that's great for the customers. It's not great for the investors. It's not great for the company. So there's got to be a balance. One of the big shifts that's coming is the cyber insurance industry. You are starting to see cyber insurance carriers have requirements for entities to be covered. If we're able to do those quickly and integrate those across different solutions, I think we're going to be in a good spot. So we're going to move from a NMSSP or security operations to integrating security tools. Right, there are already companies out there that are doing integrations. Can't say that they're doing integrations with the security in mind. Some are, some aren't. But you've got to take a look at that. Monitoring cloud services is the new venture, is the new thing. A lot of folks are moving to the cloud. But again, the Pentagon and the Department of Defense just canceled their cloud contract. So they're bringing that back in-house. So being able to be agile, right, is the other one. Things are going to change every day. Being able to adjust to those changes is definitely going to be something that the MSSPs are going to have to do. XDR, companies out there popping up with XDR. I haven't evaluated every single one of those. It's still a new technology that is looking pretty solid. If we can get XDR on-prem, in the cloud, on a single pane of glass, and have the ability to have decisions made at the organizational level, I think that's going to be huge. There's still a requirement for compliance. There's still a requirement for auditing. and for response. But I think that's where MSSPs are going to focus, is being able to be agile with XDR or an EDR, MDR, NDR solution, right? They're all have their capabilities and gaps or shortcomings, but it's all business decisions that the client organization or the covered organization needs to make. If you are a client organization and you don't know what your requirements are, start documenting your requirements. I continuously get told, well, you're the expert. You tell me what to do. Absolutely. Lock everything down, right? That's where we're going to start. But that's not a good business model, right? I need to understand what you need to be able to accomplish to give you a solid plan. So if you don't have a requirements document, it's going to be a longer process to be able to provide you a solution that's going to work for you, right? I think that more than answers your question. I think I went a little bit outside the rails on that one.
No, you're good. I think it's a perfect segue. I assume you're hiring, so what's the best way for folks to try to get in touch with you or to apply?
So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't know if you're putting the link right about there, right? Definitely LinkedIn for me personally, and to talk about open positions within the cybersecurity division and really positions with an impact. If you want to visit our webpage is impactmybiz.com. If you're looking for positions, go to careers and I'll send you to a different link. It'll have all the job descriptions and postings that we have available. If you have any questions, let me know and I will get you in contact with either the hiring manager or our talent acquisition.
Thanks, Humberto. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on Cybersecurity Heroes. And to the rest of you, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Brandon. You have a great rest of the day and a great week.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cybersecurity Heroes. Practical and experiential knowledge on a day in the life of security heroes. Catch our next episode by subscribing or following through your favorite podcast platform. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, please leave a rating for the show. They really help a lot. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.